Okay, good evening. Thank you, Provost Abdelalik, for that kind introduction, and thank you as well to President Meehan and the Board of Trustees for this honorary degree. I'm truly, truly humbled by this recognition. I also want to congratulate my fellow honorary degree recipient, Eric Swanson, and Distinguished Achievement Award recipients, Andrew Bartow, and Michael and Teresa Halucci. Your accomplishments are remarkable. And congratulations as well to this year's undergraduate student speaker, Sharia Anand, and to the students who have been recognized as 21st Century Leaders and Jack Welch Scholars. I've read your bios, and your leadership, idealism, and commitment to the community that you've already demonstrated in your young careers are truly inspiring. President Meehan, Provost Abdelalik, members of the Board of Trustees, faculty, administrators, staff, and honored guests, and most importantly, members of the UMass Amherst class of 2026 and your families and friends, it's a great privilege and honor to be with you today. To the parents and other family members of today's graduates, I want to say that as a mother of one college graduate and another son who will be graduating soon, I understand and appreciate the years of patient love and support that made today possible. I know the sacrifices that you have made for your children, and I know the complex balancing act that you've carried out, seeking to give them enough guidance to take the first steps in the right direction, and enough freedom to find their own path. To the extraordinary professors who taught today's graduates, I want to say thank you for all that you gave to these students. You've not only shared your knowledge and skills, but you inspired them and helped them to develop the self-discipline, self-confidence, and self-knowledge that they'll need to succeed in life. So graduates, would you please join me in a round of applause for your families and your professors who did so much to help you along the way. Members of the class of 2026, congratulations on reaching this important milestone in your lives. I ask that you take a moment now to reflect on your journey and appreciate what you've accomplished. To get where you are today, I imagine you had to face some pretty difficult challenges along the way. Maybe you were the first in your family to go to college and you had no mentors to guide you. Maybe you came here from another state or another country and wondered if you would fit in. Maybe you had to balance your courses with a sports team commitment or a job. Maybe there were times when you were in a class that you felt was over your head, or that you had to manage a particularly heavy caseload. Whatever the challenges you faced, you found a way to overcome them to get to this day. And in doing so, you are cultivating one of the most important qualities that you are going to need to succeed in life: resilience. Now, I have some good news and some bad news for you. And let me start with the bad news. As hard as you worked to get to this day, your biggest challenges are not behind you. They're ahead of you. But here's the good news. You've already started to develop the resilience that you'll need to face up to those future challenges. And if you're willing to use them as an opportunity to learn and grow, you're going to be fine. Let me tell you a story. I was a hard worker in high school. I always tried to do my best. And more often than not, I did pretty well. So when I got to college, although I was a little nervous, for the most part, I thought I knew what I was doing. Thought I had everything under control. And then I got back my first English paper. I don't remember what the topic was, but I do remember that it was marked with a big, fat D. Okay, maybe it wasn't big and fat. It probably wasn't. There would have been no need for him to have piled on, but it was definitely a D. I was completely devastated, and I couldn't understand it. I thought I knew how to write. As it turned out, I didn't. My professor recommended that I go to the Writing Center for tutoring. And looking back at it, I realized that my professor did me a huge favor. At the time, though, I was embarrassed and felt like a failure. Nevertheless, I had to face facts. If I was not a good writer, and plainly I was not, I had to do something about it. So I went to the Writing Center, and I worked with a student tutor for the rest of my freshman year. Later, as I was contemplating majors, I came to the conclusion that if I wanted to write clearly and persuasively, I needed to make sure to major in something that would require me to do a lot of writing. So I decided to major in English. I even asked the professor who gave me the D to be my advisor. Fast forward to my junior year, the professor who gave me that D recommended me to be a writing tutor myself. And ultimately, that devastated student who started college off with a D ended up graduating with honors and getting into law school. So, that experience served me well in later years. As a young Black woman attorney, I was often overlooked, underestimated, and even misidentified in a courtroom when I first started practicing law. Opposing counsel did not take me seriously. I distinctly remember being treated like I was some sort of novelty by opposing counsel when I was a first-year associate at a law firm. Once, when I approached the courtroom clerk in a case that I was handling, I was even mistaken for the defendant's girlfriend and was told that only lawyers were allowed past the bar into the well of the courtroom. It was often discouraging, as you might imagine. But I also knew from my college experience that if I persevered, I could face up to those challenges. I learned to make being underestimated work to my advantage. And gradually, I found my own strengths and style in the courtroom. When I tried cases as a federal prosecutor, I was never the loudest or the flashiest. My style was more low-key and matter of fact. In fact, I think that jurors came to trust me because it was clear that I was just trying to be straight with them. I wasn't talking down to them. And there were times when I knew that I had won them over when I saw them nodding during my closing arguments. Those experiences later gave me the confidence to apply to become a judge on the Massachusetts Superior Court, and then to the Supreme Judicial Court, and most recently, for the position of Chief Justice. People often look at my career and assume that I had it all planned out from the very beginning. But the truth is, there was no plan. When I was in law school, it never occurred to me that I might one day be a judge. And I certainly never imagined that I'd be on the Supreme Judicial Court, much less be the chief of that court. It just wasn't something that I could see myself doing. Actually, when I first applied to become a judge, I wasn't even practicing law. I had taken a position as an administrator at Harvard Business School to give myself more time with my two young sons, who were 1 and 4 years old at the time. It allowed me to work an 80% week, 5 short days, and then I could pick my sons up from daycare and then later school, and take them to after-school activities and also be home for dinner. As my kids got older, I began thinking about returning to the legal practice, but I still wasn't considering a judgeship. In fact, I might never have taken that first step in that direction, but for the fact that one of my law school classmates, Barack Obama, was elected as the 44th President of the United States. So I can tell you that when one of your classmates becomes president, you begin to look at your life from a different perspective. And I had to ask myself, was I really doing all that I could do to make a contribution? And that's when I decided to apply to become a judge on the Massachusetts Superior Court. At the time, I was concerned about the fact that it had been 6 years since I had been a practicing lawyer. But in my applications and interviews, I was able to highlight the management skills that I had learned while I was working at Harvard Business School. And I also explained how my work, which included being involved in student disciplinary issues, had given me something akin to a judicial experience. Well, the strategy worked, as you can see, and I truly enjoyed the time that I spent on the Superior Court, a trial court. During the 7 years that I spent on that bench, I had an opportunity to handle a wide range of criminal and civil cases. The people who came before me, criminal defendants, victims, self-represented litigants who couldn't afford counsel, were often at the lowest points of their lives. I had the chance to look into their eyes and assure them that I knew that their case was important and that they were being heard. That work was very meaningful to me. So when the opportunity came to apply to the Supreme Judicial Court, I was hesitant to leave the Superior Court. I knew it would be a difficult process and that I would be under a lot of scrutiny, but ultimately I decided that I didn't want to let the opportunity pass me by. I didn't want to regret not trying. Moving from the trial work in Superior Court to the appellate work of the SJC was a big adjustment. But as a member of the state's highest court, I truly feel fortunate to be able to have a say on important issues that impact all aspects of our society here in the Commonwealth. And I would have been fine remaining in the role of Associate Justice at the SJC for many years. But everything changed in mid-September 2020, when, just 6 months into the COVID pandemic, our Chief Justice, Ralph Gants, died suddenly and unexpectedly. It was a devastating loss. He was not only an incredibly smart and inspiring leader, but he was also the person who made us laugh and kept our spirits up. Chief Justice Gants was irreplaceable, but someone had to attempt to follow in his footsteps. So, with great trepidation, again I applied for another new job. And I was fortunate enough to be selected by then Governor Baker and approved by the Governor's Council. The whole thing was so completely unanticipated, and it all happened so quickly that it's still sometimes hard for me to believe. But here I am, speaking to you today as the Chief Justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court, only the second woman and the first Black woman to hold that position in the court's 334-year history. Applying for each of those judicial positions was daunting, to say the least. It would have been a lot easier and much more comfortable for me to stay where I was. And I'll admit, the prospect of taking each new step was all the more fraught with uncertainty because of the ways in which, as a young Black woman, I had been underestimated in the past. But my past experiences dealing with uncertainty and difficult situations helped me to push forward. They gave me the confidence that I could learn what I needed to learn to succeed, even if I didn't have all the answers from the start. I hope that you might find similar lessons for yourselves as you reflect on your own experiences on your journey to this graduation day. At some point along the way, you likely stumbled and had to pick yourself up and try again. And that experience has made you stronger and better prepared for the challenges ahead. Although I had no idea how things would turn out when I made the choices that I made, as you might imagine, I have no regrets about the times I chose to step outside of my comfort zone. Now here's the important part of my story. I am not special, or if I am, then so are you. Look where you are right now. Your possibilities are limitless. When you see an opportunity, one that will force you to stretch, to grow, I hope you will think to yourselves, why not me? Indeed, why not you? In the words of Maya Angelou, you may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, the encountering may be the very experience which creates the vitality and the power to endure. As you continue on to your next adventure, when you face a difficult situation, as you undoubtedly will, I hope that you will keep moving forward, knowing that however many times you may stumble, you have the power to persevere. I hope that you will learn to believe in your ability to tackle problems that you do not yet know how to solve and fill roles that you're not yet sure how to handle. I hope that you'll be willing to take some chances and bet on yourselves. And I hope all of these things, not merely for your own sake, but for the sake of our nation and the world. For the problems that confront us today are grave, and we will need all of the courage and creativity that each of you can muster to solve them. So members of the UMass class of 2026, go forward with the strength you have gained from overcoming adversity. Don't lose your nerve even when you face defeat, and believe in your capacity to surmount the challenges that await you in the years to come. Congratulations, and you have my very best wishes for your future.